Welcome to the webinar on fair grading with 50 to 100 point grading scale, fallacy versus fact. This presentation is also available on PowerPoint with accompanying notes. Overview of 3 grading scales. Let's compare the impact of 3 grading systems on students' final grades. The 0 to 4 point grading scale, the 50 to 100 point grading scale, and the 0 to 100 point grading scale. Using the 3 different systems, we analyze and compare final grades for a set of identical student grades. We demonstrate that the 0 to 100 point system using the F equals 0 to 59 scale range is based on fallacy and a misconception of fairness because the F has a weight of 60 points. This results in inaccurate and punitive final grades. The 50 to 100 point equally weighted grading scale using the F equals 50 to 59 scale range results in accurate averages and fair final grades. The 0 to 4 grading scale. Each grade has 1 point. The range for F equals 0 to 0.5. Just above 0.5 until it gets to actually 1.5 would be a D grade. F equals 0 is the lowest possible F. The 50 to 100 point grading scale is identical to the 0 to 100 grading scale except for the value of F. A through D have identical values, identical ranges. In the 50 to 100 grading scale, F equals 50 to 59 points, which results in 50 being the lowest F possible. The 0 to 100 grading scale. As before, the A through D have a 10-point range, and that is identical to the 50 to 100 grading scale. F equals 0 to 59 is a 60-point range. F equals 0 is the lowest F possible. What is our starting assumption? The 0 to 4 point grading scale is the basis of fair grading. What is a fallacy? A fallacy is a mistaken belief based on unsound arguments. An example is, grading has always been done this way, so it must be right. This is referring to the 0 to 100 grading scale. A fallacy is a misconception, a miscalculation. It is a failure in reasoning that renders an argument invalid. An example is, it is okay to have 60 points with F equals 0 to 59, even though the other grades have a range of 10 points. Going back to the previous slide assumption that 0 to 4 grading scale is the fair grading scale, this logically rejects the fallacy that the 0 to 100 point grading scale is the basis of fair grading. The conclusion is that the most fair and accurate grading scale to average grades is the 50 to 100 point grading scale because it produces similar results to the 0 to 4 point grading scale. The 50-point scale and the 4-point scale. The use of zeros is mathematically accurate on a 4-point scale where A equals 4, B equals 3, C equals 2, D equals 1, F equals 0. Either of the following scales would produce accurately averaged final grades, the 0 to 4 or the 50 to 100 point scale. People are resistant to change. Should it be the teacher's decision to use the old method of F equals 0 to 59? Most would say yes. Others would say no. Why? Because it is unacceptable to use faulty math with f equals 0 to 59 points to average grades. How did this come to my attention? A student came to me, her counselor, with midterm grades. Mr. Seaman, I got all B's and a few F's. I got a D for my final grade. Why even try? I feel like giving up. Richard Stiggins, in his book Student-Involved Assessment for Learning, said, "If you want to see students rapidly become hopeless failure acceptors, just set up an environment in which they actually learn a great deal but still receive low grades." Basic grade averaging. Let's think about this together. Our goal is to establish a scale that calculates the average of an A grade and an F grade accurately and fairly. How do you average grades? The basic grade averaging example is just 2 grades. What grade you get when you average these 2 evenly weighted test grades, an A and an F. Logic would tell us a C. Let's look at 3 different grading scale calculations. 3 possible grading scales. The first column is for grades A through F. The second column is the commonly accepted grading scale 0 to 4, which is used to determine GPA, but is not usually used for a grade calculation averaging. The next column is the newer proposed grading scale 50 to 100, recommended for use in grade calculation averaging of grades A through F. The last column is the grading scale 0 through 100, most often used to calculate grade averages. The 0 to 4 point grading scale. This is one way to average the grades using the 0 to 4 point scale. A is 4 points, F is 0, for a final point average of 2. 4 plus 0 is 4 divided by 2 gives an average of 2. Final grade of C. Is there any disagreement with this final grade or how it was calculated? Here is the 50 to 100 point scale. This is the final grade when using this scale. A equals 100 points, F equals 50 points. 100 plus 50 is 150 divided by 2 gives a final point average of 75. Final grade C. The 0 to 100 point scale. This is the final grade when using the 0 to 100 point scale, which uses F equals 0. How? 100 plus 0 points is 100 divided by 2 equals 50 points. And F. 0 to 100 is inaccurate grading practice when used to average final grades. The 2 grades of A and F for our current practice have A equals 100, F equals 0 for a GPA of 50. Final grade F. Proposed option 1, a 4-point scale. A equals 4 points, F equals 0 for a GPA of 2 and a final grade of C. Proposed option 2, our 50 to 100 point scale, has A equals 100 and F equals 50, the lowest F possible in this scale because F equals 50 to 59 points, for a total of 150 points divided by 2 gives a GPA of 75, a final grade of C. All F's are not created equal in the 0 to 100 scale. Let's take a closer look. This entire area on the left side and part of the right is a range of 60 points for the F when F equals 0 to 59. All other grades only have a range of 10 points. All F's should be created equal to the same 10-point range of the other grades, A, B, C, and D. F equals 0 mathematically brings down all other grades inaccurately and disproportionately. In the 0 to 100 scale, any individual score between 0 to 49 should become an automatic default of 50 prior to numerical averaging to reach the final grade. This does not give the student a free 50 unearned points, as many will say. It simply gives them the lowest F grade of 50 in a 10-point range of F equals 50 to 59, just like the 10-point range of all other grades. The 50 to 100 point grading scale has no 0 because the lowest possible grade is 50. Let's look at an advanced grade averaging example. How did this come to my attention? This is the example of the student's grades who exposed this grading inequity to me. She had about 30 B grades and 10 F grades. They have been condensed here to a 3 to 1 ratio of 3 B grades and 1 F grade. What is the average using the 0 to 4 scale? Did you get this average? The 4 grades add up to 9, which when divided by 4 grades averages 2.25 for a final grade of C. The grade earned using the 4-point scale would have been a C, not a D, as this student received. If these 4 grades had been for final grades of 4 separate classes, the GPA calculation would also be 2.25, a C. What's the average using 50 to 100? The 50 to 100 scale uses F equals 50 for all scores from 0 to 50. 85 has been used here for B, which is the mid-range between B equals 80 to 89. Did you get this average? The total is 305 points, and the average is 76. The 50 to 100 point scale calculates a C for the final grade, the same final grade as the 4-point scale. C equals 70 to 79. 76 is right in the middle. Final grade of C. The 0 to 100 scale, to be used for accurate averaging, should have all scores from 0 to 49 default to 50 before averaging grades. What's the average using the 0 to 100 scale? The lowest possible value for F equals 0 to 59 is 0, so that was used. Once again, for work not turned in, the student should receive the lowest possible F for that F scale range. Did you get this average? The total points are 255 divided by 4 grades gives an average of 64. Final grade D. Using the 0 to 100 point scale, the lowest possible value for F is 0 to 59 is a 0. That's why 0 was given for F. For work not turned in, the student should receive the lowest possible F for that F scale range. Here is a summary of the 3 different grade scale calculations averaging results. When F equals 0 to 59 points, it will inaccurately and unfairly deflate grades. First column, given the 0 to 4 point scale, we got an average of 2.25 for a C. Middle column, 50 to 100 point scale, average of 76 for a C. And finally, 0 to 100 point scale, total 255 points divided by 4 grades, average of 64, received a D. Different averages. Why? The point spread is overweighted for F in the 0 to 100 point scale. Grades A through D only receive a weight of 10, but F receives a weight of 60. F equals 0 to 59 defies logic and mathematical sense. All F's are not created equal. I repeat this slide to emphasize the disproportionate weight of F in the 0 to 100 scale. F has a range of 60 points when F equals 0 to 59. All other grades only have a range of 10 points. In the alternative grading scale of 50 to 100, any individual score between 0 to 49 becomes an automatic default of 50 prior to numerical averaging to reach the final grade, because 50 is the lowest score possible. This does not give the student a free 50 unearned points, as many will say. It simply gives them the lowest F grade of 50 in a 10-point range of F equals 50 to 59, just like the 10-point range of all other grades. Consequences of F equals 0. Failure to graduate due to being unable to pass a required class when, in fact, they would have earned a passing grade with F equals 50. Failure to graduate due to lower than 2.0 GPA when, in fact, they have earned above a 2.0 GPA and should graduate according to the state GPA requirement. Required to take summer school due to an F in a subject they may have earned a D in if F equals 50 were used. Have been given 1 or more final grades lower than what they have earned. The number of students receiving lower than earned grades is staggering. To graduate, there's a lot at stake. Or not to graduate. The 3 grading scales used. Column 1 are grades A through F. Column 2, the 0 to 4 point scale, goes from 0 to 4 for an A. The 50 to 100 point scale and the 0 to 100 point scale are identical except for the value of F. With the 50 to 100 point scale, F equals 50 to 59 points. With a 0 to 100 point scale, F equals 0 to 59. Final grades need to be calculated by averaging equally weighted grades. Accurate grade averaging can only take place when all scores of 0 to 49 in the 0 to 100 scale are changed to a default of 50 points, or to use the 50 to 100 grading scale from the beginning. This is simply assuring that all grades have the same spread, 10 points. So on the left, we have the 50 to 100 scale. On the right is also fine to use the 0 to 100 point scale and convert it to the 0 to 4 point scale before averaging. Either scale accurately averages grades. Innovation means testing old assumptions. It is our responsibility as professionals to execute a fair and just grading system that is mathematically sound, even if to do so is unpopular and challenges years of inequity and status quo practice. Innovation begins when people test long-held assumptions. The world is flat. The sun revolves around the earth. Man will never fly. Arthur Schopenhauer said, all truth passes through three stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as being self-evident. Does this sound familiar? The world is flat. The sun revolves around the earth. Civil rights, women's right to vote. Cigarettes are not bad for you. Another such inaccurate statement is f equals 0 to 59 is fair. F equals 0 to 59 is certainly not as monumental as these other cases, but it is nonetheless a wrong that must be righted. Breaking with tradition. History in the past does not make something true or accurate. The masses buying into an error makes it harder to see the truth. The longer the error has been believed, the harder it is to change. What do you mean fly? Do you think that thing, a plane, is going to go up in the air and stay there? You're crazy. It cannot fly because nothing has ever flown before. If it's been this way forever, why change? If it ain't broke, why fix it? The grading system is broke. It's time to fix it. Because that is always the way it has been done, is not acceptable. It is time to challenge this established grading practice. Routine practice does not make it right. Our world moves forward by challenging old assumptions and status quo with sound, rational data and arguments so that new and improved grading practices can be implemented. F equals 50 is not grade inflation. F equals 50 doesn't inflate grades. F equals 0 deflates grades. If F equals 50 was grade inflation, it would produce a higher grade than the 0 to 4 point scale. It doesn't. F equals 0 produces a lower deflated grade than the 0 to 4 point scale. F equals 50 equalizes the grades. F equals 0 deflates grades. F equals 0 to 59 unfairly deflates other grades they have earned. It is mathematically impossible to get out of the hole that F equals 0 pulls them into. The grading scale from 0 to 100 should give you the same grade averaging results as the 0 to 4 point grading scale. It doesn't. F equals 0 on the 100 point scale does not provide the same results. F equals 50 as the lowest F given does provide the same results or almost the same as the 0 to 4 point scale. F equals 50 equalizes grades. On a balance scale, F equals 0 tips it down and F equals 50 balances the scale. You are not giving them 50 points they didn't earn. You are giving them the lowest F on a 10-point range of F equals 50 to 59 points, just like the other grades in the 50 to 100 point scale. Once again, F equals 50 doesn't inflate grades. F equals 0 deflates grades. Taking away success. If you failed in life at selling a house, a car, a vacuum cleaner 10 times and succeeded one time, you're certainly not going to take away that successful sale and come up with failure. F equals 0 takes away the sale, takes away the A grade that was earned, It averages an A and an F and gets an F. No wonder students get discouraged and give up. How can we impact change? Where do we go from here? The problem and the solution are presented in the following chart. 0 to 100 is unfair grading practice when used to average grades. As a summary here, we have the grades A and F. Under current practice, you receive a GPA of 50 or a final grade of F. Option 1, GPA of 2, final grade of C. Option 2, GPA of 75, final grade of C. This is going back to the basic grade example of 2 grades only. How can an F final grade be justified? It cannot. Summary. The approach is simple. The grading scale must somehow match the 0 to 4-point scale by matching the grade earned using the 4-point scale. The 50 to 100-point scale, when used to average grades, is the solution. It gives the same or almost the same averaging results as the 0 to 4-point scale. You have not given them a free 50 points, as some would say. You have given them the lowest F that is able to be received on a 10-point range, just like an A, B, C, or D. This is my challenge. Who will champion the cause for students to be graded fairly in a mathematically sound process? Try it out and see which grade best reflects their proficiency, their standards-based grading. Compare the results of F equals 0 to F equals 50. It's not teachers' fault history is handed down to the professionals the 0 to 100-point grade scale, but once aware of its injustice, blatant unfairness, and being flagrantly mathematically unsound, then it is your responsibility to not perpetuate the injustice. F equals 0 grading policy is negligence once one understands the mathematical inaccuracy of it when used to average grades. Test the concept of F equals 50 as default by selecting a few of your students who have barely passing to good grades predominantly, but also have many zeros, F equals 0, averaged into their final grade. Go into the software and change the zeros to 50, either manually or with the default option of selecting F equals 50 for anything below 50. This gives it a 10-point range like any other grade. F equals 50 to 59. Compare the before and after grades and determine which grade seems more equitable and fair using common sense about their overall performance and competency level. Have you ever given final grades that seem too low? F equals 0 is most likely the reason why. If they get a 0, there is no question on whether or not the student deserves an F for that single grade. But do they deserve 5 Fs for that single grade? That is what it amounts to when you give F equals 0 for grade averaging instead of F equals 50. Ever wonder, wow, that seems like a low grade for that student? The true test is to ask yourself which grade makes more sense to you. The final grade by averaging F equals 0 or the final grade by averaging F equals 50. The grade a student deserves and earned is the one using F equals 50, which will come out the same or almost the same grade as if you converted all grades to the 0 to 4-point scale before averaging the final grade. I encourage you to decide for yourself. Tech support may be needed. Identify school personnel available to show how to change 0 to 49 points to F equals 50 default using the software used by your school. Or consider changing to the 50 to 100 point grading scale. Or consider converting the 0 to 100 system to the 0 to 4-point scale for your ongoing grading scale during the semester. Your professional opinion is the bottom line, not the computer. The key to fair grading is your professional judgment. Does this grade accurately reflect what the student has learned and earned? I am convinced you will know and decide their higher grade more accurately reflects their level of competency in almost all cases. Is the computer grading software doing what you tell it to do? Is the computer bossing you around? Ending remarks. Many schools have abandoned their attempt at F equals 50 grading policy because it became controversial among school staff and or parents. What a poor reason to not do what's right. Many of these schools are not giving up and are moving into educating parents and teachers as to the rationale behind F equals 50. That is the purpose of this PowerPoint.